Hi everybody, I'm Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime Streaming Show, where we watch old 16mm films. And that was some more from the Hoffman Home Movies, their trip to Florida in the mid-50s. Beautiful, beautiful Kodachrome footage. Big fan of that. And they do a lot of POV shots while they're driving, so you just kind of get to see what Florida roads were like and highways were like. And I think they're making their way to Miami, so we might see that later this week. Just so you know, just in case, we are experiencing some wind, and whenever we experience wind here in Raleigh, that means the power might flicker or go out, which means that the internet will go out. And so we're hoping that's not going to happen, but it might happen. And if it happens, I'll probably just call it if it's mid-show. But anyways, I hope that all of you who have experienced this major storm front have done okay with flooding, or with water, or with wind, or with potential tornadoes, or with a bunch of snow and ice. I hope you guys are doing okay. But here we go. Let's see how a city grows, and specifically the skyscraper. Enjoy.
Skyscrapers. Ever wonder why we have them? Millions of people live and work in our city, yet we don't have much land. Skyscrapers let us go upward, so we have room for a lot of people where there's not a lot of space. Like that beauty, one of the world's tallest, an office building that holds more people than a small town. If I sound proud, that's because I helped build it. I'll show you how the job was done. For that, let's go back to the beginning. That's me at my drawing board. I'm an architect, one of dozens of people who planned and designed the building. We wanted it to be a safe, comfortable place for the people who'd be working inside. We showed our plans with drawings that gave directions for constructing every single inch of the building. After months of planning, crews of construction workers finally got started.
I was one of the crane operators. We drilled holes in the ground so deep they reached all the way down to solid rock. Into the holes, we lowered steel tubes. We filled them with concrete that hardened into supports. The supports keep a skyscraper from tipping or sinking into the ground.
Next, in a hole 3 stories deep, a new crew of workers began building the basement. Just to finish the basement floor took over 100 people pouring and spreading thousands of tons of concrete. In a couple of weeks, the basement floor was finished, and we were ready to put up the building's steel frame.
And that was some job. We took steel parts weighing 5 tons each and bolted them down. Before long, the frame was rising from the ground. Large cranes lifted the heavy steel beams up to where we were working, connecting thousands of steel parts one by one. When we came to the very last beam, what a day that was. We all signed our names. Then, with well-known people like the mayor, we watched proudly as the beam was lifted into the air. It was called the topping out ceremony. After months of hard work, this was our way of celebrating that we finally finished the steel frame.
While the frame was going up, another crew attached heavy marble slabs to the outside of the building. While the outside was being finished, inside people were already building the offices.
I put in metal ventilators that carry warm and cool air through the building. I'm only one of hundreds who helped get the building ready for people to work in. You know, building a skyscraper takes so many special jobs that no one person could learn them all. So we each become experts at just one kind. Carpenters do woodwork, others do metalwork. Specialists, that's what we are. After all, thousands of people would soon be working here. We wanted their offices to be safe and comfortable.
Our design for the building included a place where people could sit outside and relax. That's the purpose of the plaza, the space around the building. The plaza is a place where people can take a break from a hard day's work. One night, almost 2 years after the construction began, moving vans arrived carrying office furniture. The first people were moving in. Moving's done at night because that's when the city and the building are not so crowded. Bit by bit, the offices began looking like offices. And a few days later, people were working there. The building was finally being used.
I like this building. It has all sorts of conveniences. High-speed elevators can get from the bottom floor to the top in just 1 minute. On the first and second floors, we have escalators. Those first 2 floors also have stores. We can shop without even leaving the building. Getting lunch is no problem because we have not 1 restaurant, but 2. One's a cafeteria, and the other a cafe. We even have a bank. You know, you could almost call this building a city within a city.
That's my building, and quite a building it is. 82 stories standing over 330 meters high, with 40 elevators and almost 5,000 windows, and nearly 10,000 people who work inside. Constructing it took hundreds of people more than 2 years. But the work was all worthwhile when you see the result. A building that serves those who work inside and the city around it.
Sorry. I hit the mute button, but I didn't hit it long enough. Anyways, love that film, Cornet film. The film behind me is Made for Nurses. And this is... Uh-oh. I just heard the power ding. Am I still live? Still live? All right. We're going to go for it. We're going to see what happens. This is Made for Nurses, and it's about taking people's temperature. So I'm going to stand by in case it's a butt thing. All right. Here we go. Enjoy. Hopefully power won't go out. We'll see what happens. Enjoy.
An important observer and accurate technician, which your responsible position requires. You've already had it made clear to you by your supervisors that there is a great need for accuracy. But just how accurate? And what does accurate really mean anyway? The dictum is that accuracy is being without errors or mistakes, and it means exact. Since human lives depend on your not making mistakes, there is no compromise for error. Just almost won't do. You must be exact every single time. That's how you'd want it if your life depended on it. And don't get caught by the fact that things look alike and so assume that they are alike. Once, 12 patients became critically ill because someone mistook a dangerous chemical for sugar. Learn to be cautious where anything that patients will receive is concerned. Don't let yourself or anyone else put anything in the wrong container. Being wrong once is far more than enough. Nowhere is this accuracy more important than in recording information about patients. Not even in something as seemingly routine as taking the patient's temperature. Now, it is true that taking a measurement of the patient's temperature in no way helps him directly. It is simply an accurate observation of a fact. But that information is vital to doctors in determining what can be done to help the patient. Your alert, responsible reporting of a change may be the key factor in saving the patient from pain or even death. Patients' temperatures are usually taken at regular intervals as a matter of routine. There's a sort of shorthand that appears on the doctor's order sheet for temperature readings. When a doctor writes OD, it means once a day. BID means twice a day. TID is for 3 times a day. And QID stands for 4 times a day. A marking of Q4H means reading the patient's temperature every 4 hours, day and night. Of course, you can't learn to take a temperature until you first know how to read a thermometer. Note that a thermometer is a length of glass tubing, closed at both ends. The tapered or bulb end is the one that is placed in the patient and collects a measurement of the heat. The untapered end is the one by which you always remove or hold the thermometer. Along one side of the thermometer is a white band. This is the back. The opposite side has a scale, like a ruler, and is marked off in degrees of temperature. Most thermometers are marked off in steps of 0.2 of a degree by each small space between 2 short lines. There are 2 types, oral and rectal thermometers. There is usually an arrow or a line to designate what is normal temperature. Rectal temperatures are always 1 degree higher than oral readings. Sometimes the numbers change color to indicate the difference above or below normal. Inside the middle of the thermometer is a fluid called mercury. Body heat causes the fluid mercury to expand and rise in the tube. Temperature is read by viewing the end of the mercury and noting its position on the scale. The thermometers you use are made so that the mercury will stay at the highest temperature reached. To assure accuracy, read the temperature twice. Let's practice a few temperatures. Just jot down each one as you read it. Quickly, what's this one? 99 degrees is right, only if you look twice to check yourself. Did you? Okay, here's another. 98 6/10, normal. What's this one? 102/10 degrees. Be sure you don't read it as 102 degrees. That would be very wrong and terribly misleading. It is quite a different thing to have 102 degrees than to have 100.2 degrees. And now, what's this one? 96.8 degrees. Below normal. But of course, for some people, that might be normal for them. Note that the decimals always are even numbers because of the 2/10 measurements. Once you have mastered the ability to read a thermometer, you'll be assigned to take readings of your patient's temperatures. You begin, as in all activities involving the patient, by washing your hands. Now do you see the reason for good hand and nail care in nursing? Collect what you will need: a thermometer tray, clean thermometers in a container, tissues, a container for soil thermometers, a watch with a second hand, the temperature record book, and a pen. Place the tray and contents on the table and tell the patient you are going to take her temperature. Don't make a big deal of it. There's no reason to alarm the patient. It is simply a matter of routine. So tell her that it is time to take her temperature just for the records. Take one thermometer out of the container by holding it between your thumb and first 2 fingers. Shake down the mercury until it reads less than 95 degrees. If you forget to shake it down, an error may result. Now, ask the patient to open her mouth and place the thermometer well under her tongue, like this. Have the patient keep her mouth closed. Keep the thermometer in place for 3 minutes. Time it. Don't waste time waiting. Either take pulse and respiration, as we'll talk about later, or go on to other patients, whichever is the policy at your nursing station. But never try to take more than 4 patients' temperatures at a time. Probably 2 or 3 would be better when you are first starting. After 3 minutes, take the thermometer from the patient's mouth. Wipe it immediately with a tissue. Now, read the thermometer. Think about whether the reading appears as it should, and recheck it. If it seems wrong, shake down again and replace it in the patient's mouth. Don't alarm the patient. Just say you didn't leave it in quite long enough, so you must take it again. When you are quite sure you have the right reading, place the thermometer in the container for used thermometers. Now, write down the temperature. If the temperature is over 100 degrees, and this has not been previously noted, inform the charge nurse immediately. Whether temperature readings are normal or out of the ordinary, always report information in accordance with the procedures at your health care center. If the patient is unconscious, incoherent, is a small child, or for any reason can't be depended upon to hold the thermometer in his mouth, an alternate method is required. Another method is rectal temperature. Be sure to tell the patient that you need his help to take a reading and screen the patient for privacy. Roll the patient on his side, facing away from you. Provide enough light to see what you are doing, and then pull back the covers and gown without exposing the patient unnecessarily. You need the same supplies for rectal temperatures as for oral temperatures, except for the difference in thermometers and the addition of a tissue containing lubricating jelly. Shake the thermometer down so that it reads below 95 degrees. Lubricate the bulb and lower half of the thermometer and separate the patient's buttocks to expose the anal opening. Gently insert the thermometer about 1 1/2 inches. Don't force it. Keep hold of the thermometer at all times. It would be extremely dangerous to leave it unattended. The thermometer must remain in place a full 3 minutes by your watch. When the time is up, carefully remove the thermometer and wipe it as you do with an oral thermometer. Read the temperature and make a mental note that it is rectal. Put the thermometer with the soiled ones and record the information. Mark a clearly readable R in parenthesis, either before or after the number of degrees. This is the most common way to designate that the reading was rectal, or 1 degree higher than oral. When it is not possible to get oral or rectal readings, a method called the axillary temperature is used. Such readings are difficult to take accurately, so they are usually taken by registered nurses or persons especially trained. Thermometers, of course, are used only once, and then must be cleaned thoroughly. Wash each in soap solution, which is at room temperature. Warm water might damage the thermometer. A gauze pad will help in the scrubbing action to assure that no caked deposits remain. Then rinse it thoroughly under cool running water. Put the thermometer in the proper antiseptic solution, bulb down like this. The gauze pad, acting as a cushion, keeps the thermometer from touching the bottom of the container, so it will be less likely to break. Leave them in the antiseptic solution for the time recommended by your supervisor. The sound you hear is the most important sound on earth. It is the sound of a heartbeat, the sound of life. This is what the doctor hears through a stethoscope for examination. His skilled ears can tell when it is not functioning properly. Every time the heart beats, it sends out a surge of pressure called a pulse. The pulse is most often taken at the radial artery at the wrist. Other major pulse points are found at the instep of the foot, on either side of the neck, just in front and below the earlobes, and at the temples, about 1 inch above the end of each eyebrow. Pulse is an important sign of a patient's health, so you must learn to read it correctly and keep records of it. When the body is sick, the heart adjusts to the condition, just as it does to meet our increased demand for oxygen when we exercise. Therefore, the rate and quality of pulse give an indication of what the body is doing. Pulse is taken at regular intervals, usually along with temperature reading. The P in TPR stands for pulse. You take the pulse with the patient in a relaxed position. Place the tips of 2 or 3 fingers on the artery, inside the wrist, just below the thumb. Press just hard enough to feel the pulse easily, not so hard that you cut off blood flow. Don't use your thumb. It has a firm pulse of its own. Look at the second hand of your watch and count for fully 60 seconds. Don't let anything distract you. The count must be accurate. Check the pulse a second time. Normal pulse for men is 60 to 70 times per minute. For women, it is 70 to 80. However, individuals may vary greatly. Get to know what is normal for your patients and report any great change at once. It could indicate trouble. In addition to the number of pulses, observe the quality and volume of pulse. Normal pulse is a succession of regular, evenly spaced, and equal surges. Each one feels exactly like the one before, strong and definite. Ill patients, especially those with heart involvement, have noticeably weaker pulses. If the pulse seems less definite than is normal for that patient, report the pulse as weak. If the surges are not all the same, report the pulse as irregular. Of course, the condition can be a combination of these qualities and should be so recorded. If at any time you are in doubt or can't seem to get a good pulse response, report this to your supervisor. The other normal reading made for patients is respiration. It starts with a count of the number of breaths taken per minute. This is usually accomplished along with temperature and pulse observations. The important thing to remember about taking a respiration rate is not to let the patient know what you are doing. This is a first, doing something without telling the patient. The reason is that most people find it difficult to keep a normal breath rate when they are thinking about it consciously. Remember that one breath cycle includes both inhaling and exhaling. Watch the patient's abdomen in the area of the diaphragm just below the rib cage. Count from the same point in the cycle. Normal respiration is about 20 times per minute, and anything over 28 or under 12 breath cycles should be reported. In addition to respiration count, observe the quality of breathing. Does it seem easy and normal? Is he having any problem getting his breath? Is there sound to his breathing? A snoring sound of a waking patient could mean his breathing is obstructed. And a gurgling sound could mean the patient has accumulated fluid or mucus in his trachea or windpipe. Regard any abnormal breathing sound as a call for help. Get nurse or doctor if breathing seems out of the ordinary to you. And one more thing, never reveal information from the patient's record to unauthorized persons. If the patient asks what his temperature is, just say, "It's about what is expected," and smile pleasantly. Or say, "There's no need for concern." Whatever you do, don't upset the patient. Carefully record the respiration rate in the patient's record under the R for respiration in TPR. When the patient's record is complete, it is a valuable guide for the doctors and professional nurses. Such important records, of course, must be exact. It isn't enough to say that a patient doesn't feel like he has a temperature or that his respiration seems normal. You have to back up your statements with scientific facts. And the only way to get these is with the right instruments and records in the hands of fully competent people like yourself. In a sense, you are a health detective, watching for any clues that you can report to the professional nurses. Don't you feel proud of the work you do? Here is the greatest possible opportunity to serve mankind and yourself. Always try to be the kind of nursing aid you would want if you were ill, because that's the best kind there is.
there was a little bit of a but in there. Yeah. And it was acting weird on the scanner. It kept going, like, bumping up. And I'm not sure exactly why that was the case, but there you go. I found another one of those films in the Communications series, the really weird ones. I know you were thinking, like, what? There was one called Communications the Messenger, Communications the Receiver. This is Communications the Sender. Enjoy.
Sender. Anybody around here see a sender? Sender.
What's a sender look like?
I don't know. I don't either. Let's just keep looking. Sender. Look, a clue. Sender is that way.
This isn't a sender. It's a message. It tells us who the sender of this message is.
Okay, the people who made this film are senders.
Their medium is the film, and the message is within the film.
And look,
Here's a message from another sender. In communication, the sender transmits a message to a receiver through some medium.
gosh. Not only that, my friends, but communication always begins with a sender. Right now, I am a sender of a particular kind. I'm a public speaker, speaking publicly, personally delivering my message to my audience, the receivers. There's one of me and several of them. Hey, receivers, are you receiving? Who you are and who your audience is can affect how you deliver your message.
I'm a sender. I'm using nonverbal communication, trying to send all sorts of messages. Love, silliness, fear, joy.
In these situations, the receiver is pretty close to the sender in time and space.
I'm sending one-to-one, friend to friend.
I'm receiving one-to-one, friend to friend.
But there are situations in which the sender is farther away from the receiver.
Like all letter writers, I'm a sender. I don't know the receiver very well, so I haven't written as if we were friends. My letter contains the message. The receiver, as you can see, is far away. We are separated in space and time. This message may take several days to get to the receiver.
Or it may arrive much sooner. I'm a receiver. This letter contains a message, and so does this book. It was written by the sender several hundred years ago. That's a pretty big separation in time between sender and receiver.
Yeah, a long time.
So you see, every message has a sender whose purpose is to transmit the message to the receiver, using whatever medium is available, in spite of certain barriers that may exist. Effective communication means overcoming these barriers or avoiding them. Getting the message through. To demonstrate how to get a message through, we're going to do some planning. Fade out, please, until we have everything ready.
Hello. Glad you could make it to our meeting.
Hello.
You see, we're trying to sell ads in the program for the school play. We've gotten together to plan a sales talk.
Once we tell you what we're selling, you'll want to buy.
Now, our sales talk is the message. Here's how it goes. The ad you buy will... Could I have a little visual help, please? It will reach over 3,000 people in our community who'll see the play. It will let them know about your business. And equally important, it will show that you care about our students because you're helping us pay for our show. So buy an ad. Okay, that's the message. Now, are you ready to send that message to all the people in the community?
Yeah!
Then all together now, tell us about it.
A sender is a person who sets out to send some messages.
The message is the information that so same sender sends.
Medium is talking, singing, lots of information bringing every receiver.
There's communication happening.
Hi.
Hello there. I just want to be sure you know who I am.
Hi. Could you buy an ad?
A what?
An ad for the play?
The play.
Yeah, the play.
What play?
At school.
Look, I'm sorry, we're very busy, and this sender doesn't seem to have her message clearly in mind. She doesn't seem to know what it is that she wants to say.
I guess the receiver isn't getting the message. He's probably not going to buy an ad.
A communication breakdown caused by the sender. Another demonstration coming up.
And that's why I'd like to sell you an ad in our program. Will you buy one?
Sorry, I don't speak English. You speak Spanish?
Gosh, ¿Cómo está usted? That's about all I know.
Triste. Es difícil para mí hablar inglés. Aunque mucha gente hablan y entienden, ambos inglés y español. Es claro que es un asunto de escuela y interesa también, ¿no?
You gotta help me. I need a thing that'll fit in the place where the thingamajig goes in this way in the pipe. Yeah?
Thing? Place? Thingamajig? Could you be talking about the threaded bushing that joins the pipe and the inlet valve just above the elbow?
Bushing? Inlet valve? Elbow? We're not communicating.
He doesn't have the right vocabulary, so I don't know what he wants.
Messy. And for another example. Hey, Dad, can I borrow some bread so I can take this cool chick on a big blast?
Bread? Cool chick? Blast? Now, why couldn't he ask me for some long green to paint the town red with his hot tomato?
Long green? Paint the town red? Hot tomato?
We're not communicating. You see, the sender has to send the message in a code that the receiver understands.
Este es comunicación. And on with our story. You need to help me. There's this program I want you to buy an ad for it, and it'll give us money and it'll really help us out in this next. Do you think you could... What? Are you selling something? Yeah, I want you to buy an ad. Hear the problem? Well, actually, you can't hear it, because the sender is speaking too softly. I really need some help. You gotta buy this ad for me. If a sender can't make a message heard when spoken, or read when written, there isn't much chance for communication. Can it be that my speech habits are getting in the way of communication? What's this? Speaking softly is not the only problem. Whatever can that mean?
I'm selling ads for my school play program.
Yes?
Would you like to buy an ad for the school play program? It's for a good cause.
No, just go away.
Why do people react so badly to me as a sender? Could it be? Yes. Speaking too loudly may have caused a communication barrier. And look.
Hey, man. I'm talking about ads for the school play. You want to buy one for the program?
What did you say?
Hey, man. You know, the play at school. The school play. You want to buy an ad?
Nad? Nad? Young man, your poor speech habits are obstructing communication.
Communication? What's communication?
For effective spoken communication, the sender has to speak clearly, loud enough, but not too loud. He has to send the whole message, and he has to do it in a pleasant, easy-to-understand way. Maybe like this.
The ad you buy will reach the people all throughout our town.
It'll tell them what you're selling and invite them, come on down.
Advertising gets you customers who smile instead of frown. So will you buy an ad?
Would you like to buy an ad, ma'am?
If you don't, you'll make us sad, ma'am.
I don't want to be a bad man, so I'll help. You're such good kids. As a receiver, I must say they got through to me. I understood the message. They were good senders.
Friends, you've seen some no-nos about being a sender. For some super spectacular yes-yeses, notice first that an effective sender tailors his message to fit a particular receiver.
Being in the theater business yourself, you know how important school productions can be. Have you seen any of our plays?
Yes, I've seen a few, but not in a few years, though. My kids are all in college now.
Which of the school plays do you remember?
By asking questions, the sender can personally involve the receiver. Roar!
Here are some pictures from last year's play. And this is the program. You can see how nice the ads look. We try to do a good job.
Visual aids can help a sender communicate, but they shouldn't take attention away from the verbal message, which is...
Well, young man, you've made your point. Not only do I understand your message, but I'm also persuaded by it. I'll buy an ad. He's a good sender. He knows how to make eye contact, and he knows how to listen to the person with whom he's trying to communicate. You see, a good sender looks for clues to see how his message is getting through. This is called feedback. Information the receiver feeds back to the sender. Here's how it's used. Actors make a lot of money. Why should I support them?
He thinks I've been talking about professional actors, not our own neighborhood school. I'll have to be a better sender. Make it clear to him.
Sorry, I don't speak English.
If he understood, I think he'd support us. I'll have to send the message in Spanish or get someone who can.
Here's your advance payment, and please let me know if there's anything else I can do for you.
He wants to help us. Well, a lot of people come to his theater. Maybe we could ask him to help us with the advertising.
Sure, I'll put up your poster. It'll help you as senders to get your message across to a lot of people. And it'll help us right now to review what we've already learned about being an effective sender, like this.
Sing clearly and use good speech technique.
Have a clear message in mind and watch how loudly you speak. Tell the message to the receiver and use feedback.
Because
It's send, communication has no end. It ends now that we've made our point. And wherever we go, you will always know we are senders and this is our song.
Yeah, so we showed two other films in that series. Communications, The Receiver, and Communications, The Message. And, you know, I dig them. They're great. So far, so good with the power. I'm a little anxious about it because there's these giant trees nearby, and whenever we get wind, we get branches, and hopefully we won't get a tree that comes down. But, you know, it's the way it is. It's the way it is in the world. But in the meantime, does your job stress you out? Perhaps a job in flower arranging, or maybe a hobby in flower arranging, is for you. This is the first in the series, and it was made by John Ott. Now, you might say, like, who's John Ott? Who cares? John Ott did a lot of amazing time-lapse photography for himself, for Disney, for a variety of educational film companies, and I think he set up, like, in his garage. And so he would just he had the light set up, and it would, you know, every so many minutes or hours, like giant floodlights would come on, and they would take one frame, and then it'd go off. And he would do that for like weeks on end, and had some amazing footage. And his family donated their footage to the Ott family footage, including all of his work, to Chicago Film Archives, which is kind of a sister archive up in Chicago. So, anyways, here's some incredibly meditative flower arrangement footage. Enjoy and breathe.
A flower can become a paintbrush in the hands of an artist. Flower arranging is as much an art as painting or music, but it is an art anyone can master. It is not necessary to have masses of bloom. Leave that. Just a few flowers, with buds and foliage arranged with a feeling for harmony and proportion, will often have as delightful an effect as though great masses of material had been used. The term flower is used loosely when speaking of flower arrangement. Any plant, twig, brush, or bloom can be so placed as to become decorative. For example, in winter, when flower blooms are not available from the garden, a charming centerpiece can be made from a few sprigs of evergreen, yew, balsam, and pine. It may be true that flowers are too beautiful to need rules for arranging them, but it is also true that flowers, arranged according to a few principles that have been evolved through much experimenting over a period of time, do have a beauty not to be obtained by merely sticking them in water. In this winter arrangement, the wisdom of one such principle is illustrated. Do not cross stems or branches, as this will result in a restless, confused composition. Winter is white and green, and there is nothing that epitomizes the season so much as a centerpiece of evergreen and snow-like flowers. This is a simple white pottery container, oval or rather elliptical in shape. A container of this shape makes a more interesting centerpiece than a round one. Chicken wire is used for a holder. The so-called cage holder of heavy crossed wires is also very good, but only when it is really heavy enough so that it will not tip to one side or the other. At a time when flowers are scarce and expensive, evergreens with a few flowers added make a very acceptable arrangement and have the decided advantage of long life. In winter, there is always plenty of evergreen to be had: cedar, yew, pine, or hemlock. The sprays should be so placed that the longer ones are at the ends of the arrangement, and the whole as though all the sprays radiate from a common center. As with stems and branches, do not cross the sprays with one another. Leave a space on the left of each side in which to place your flowers. The flower accents of white button chrysanthemums can nestle like snowballs against the dark green foliage. Pay careful attention to the ends so that they will be attractive to the person viewing them. And remember that the whole arrangement should be low. After all, it is a table center. placed one on each side of the arrangement, the two flower accents will balance each other and make an interesting whole. White chrysanthemums are used here to harmonize with the white container, but other colors can be used as desired. Like the evergreen sprays, the chrysanthemums are long-lasting, and this arrangement will charm for many days. This naturalistic arrangement is an especially good one for narcissi, because all of the narcissus family really prefer shallow water and will last very well so arranged. The container used here is a shallow rectangle of modern pewter, resting on its own wooden stand. A pinpoint holder will sustain the flowers, and as the flowers are not heavy, no anchoring of the holder is necessary. All plant material, as soon as it is picked, should be placed in deep, cool water out of a draft, and preferably in a dark, cool place, for at least 2 hours before arranging. Woody stems, such as support fruit blossoms and lilacs, require a longer time. Before being put in water, the stems should be split. All foliage that is underwater should be removed, and then the stem should be placed in water that is hot, but not boiling. This should then stand until cool. For flower show purposes, all material should be cut the day before the show. This care is called hardening. If you must, through some unfortunate circumstance, gather flowers under the hot sun, it is well to place them in quite warm water and leave them in a cool, dark place until the water moderates. Let the bud and half-opened flowers be the tallest part of the arrangement, and then place the fully opened flowers below. Notice that all the flowers do not face directly forward. This principle can well be followed both with flowers and with foliage. Here is a good time to apply the no stem crossing rule. Spring from one base as though growing. A few orange and yellow primroses are used at the base of the arrangement to give a focal point of interest. The name of the unusual beautiful narcissus in this arrangement is Semper Avante. It is in its second year of blooming. Primroses are not the only flower that combines with narcissus. You could use grape hyacinths, Chionadaxa, scillas, or pansies. Long trumpet daffodils are also lovely, combined with one or two forced branches of maple, beech, and the especially lovely horse chestnut. True spring is captured in the blossom of a magnolia, arranged here in a modified line, curving softly from the base as though fanned by a gentle breeze. The container of modern pottery, based on an old design, is a dull black in color. It looks like metal and harmonizes well with the soft pink and gray of the flowers and stems. The holder is a pinpoint holder which just fits the bottom of the container and is held firmly in place with a little melted paraffin. Be careful to use only a little paraffin, for if you use too much, it will come above the pins and defeat its purpose. Allow it to cool thoroughly before placing the branches in the holder. That are in different stages of opening, full blossoms, half open, and buds. The focal point of interest is achieved with the fully opened flowers. The arrangement has beauty through form of its line. Any small confusing buds, or even large blossoms that destroy this line must be pruned away, so that a clear-cut outline of the most beautiful sprays is left. Some foliage could be used in this arrangement, such foliage as rhododendron, for example, but it is not necessary with this beautiful early spring flower. This combination of pear blossoms and yellow tulips is very spring-like in the soft, celadon green container, a picture of delicacy and charm. The vase has such a long, narrow neck that no holder is necessary. When cutting the branches, select those that have an interesting curve, and again prune out all the confusing twigs. Two or three sprays of pear blossom will not only support themselves, but also the tulips that are put in place last. One of the rules or principles of flower arranging is that an arrangement should be 1 1/2 times as high as the container. That is to say, the flowers should stand 1 1/2 times the height of the container above its top, even a little higher if the material is delicate and light in color. Here, the height of the pear blossoms is balanced on the right by the apparent weight of the tulips. The tulips are in 2 shades of yellow, one slightly darker than the other. These flower arrangements have been planned for home decoration, so that you may have a double pleasure from your garden by bringing your flowers into the house to be lived with and enjoyed.
I'm all chill now. All chill. Thanks for tuning in today. The weather's going to get gross here, so send your happy weather vibes to us and to anybody who's dealing with this front that's coming through. Think positive, happy flower arrangements, and yeah. Anyways, hit the thumbs up, the like button. You can also donate to us with the super thanks button in the YouTube chat, or go to ko-fi.com/abgeeks or patreon.com/abgeeks. Those are great ways to support us. But hopefully we'll be back tomorrow, and if not, maybe Thursday. So everybody take care, and we'll be thinking about you. Thank you, Jeremy. Bye-bye.